Christopher Nkunku and Joules Kounde, two players that were not on my radar ahead of the summer window until yesterday, where links have appeared for both of them. We're going to talk about those links, the credibility of them, why they may exist. Are they players that we should be interested in? But before we do get into that, please could I just ask you to subscribe down below. We're on the way to 16,000 subscribers. And if you could click the like button, the little thumbs up, just helps the video get to more people as we continue to grow this channel. And heading into the summer, of course, there is going to be plenty of gossip about transfers. We're going to try and keep it sensible on this channel. But look, let's get into it. Straight off the bat, we're going to start with the Christopher Nkunku one. And the reason for that is that this has come from Fabrice Hawkins, who is a very credible journalist, especially when it comes to French players and when it comes to Ligue 1. And of course, Christopher Nkunku is indeed French. So this is exactly what he had to say. This has come from his own X page. Despite his return to the squad against Everton, Chelsea and Christopher Nkunku have reached the point of no return. The French international is expected to leave the Blues next summer. Arsenal and Bayern Munich were interested this winter and are expected to return next summer. Other clubs are in the running. This will be one of the big issues to follow during the transfer window. So a credible source linking us with Christopher Nkunku. There had actually, when I was scrolling back, been a few other links in January where we were supposedly interested in Christopher Nkunku. And there's no smoke without fire, especially with a journalist like this. So why? Why are we interested in Christopher Nkunku? Well, for me, this is the reason. Chelsea need to offload him. Chelsea want to offload him, and it's Arsenal looking at a market opportunity. It's Kai Havertz. It's in a nutshell. I mean, it's coming from the same bloody club. It's Kai Havertz, right? Nkunku, according to Capology, is on £195,000 a week. He's on originally a 5-year deal, but there was a contract extension in that, which I think they already triggered, which means his contract doesn't expire until 2029. There are 4 years left on it at the end of this year, and he's on 195 grand a week, and Chelsea don't particularly use him. He's not a starting player at Chelsea, and I don't think he ever will be. So they're looking to offload him. Now, that comes with its own issues, right? If he's on 195 grand a week now, he's not going to move for less than that because he's got 4 years left. Why would he turn around and take a pay cut to leave Chelsea when he's got, what's that? That's worth 4 years at 195. It's basically £40 million that Chelsea owe him on his current contract. So he's not going to take a pay cut, in my opinion. According to some other rumours, they want in the region of 55 million for him, which in itself, and this is where I have an issue, right? Market opportunity, whatever. We can talk about whether or not it's a market opportunity. The reality is Chelsea bought him for about 55 million pounds. It was 60 million euros, whatever that was at the time. They do not have the right to ask for the same amount back after the 2 years that he's had at Chelsea. Fundamentally, you cannot say that he is worth the same now as he was when he left Leipzig. He's 2 years older. He's had injuries. And Chelsea don't want him and don't see him as a starting player. So that's straight off the bat where I just fundamentally have an issue with that, regardless of whether you perceive it as a market opportunity. Many would say, in hindsight, Kai Havertz at 65 million quid and on 285 grand a week was not a market opportunity, as much as supposedly that was why us and Real Madrid were interested. So that's kind of where I have the first point of contention, I suppose. The second point of contention is that quite simply, I don't think he's good enough. And it's not that I don't think he's good enough outright. If you were to tell me we were getting 21-22 Christopher Nkunku, I'd say yes, I would take that. That was the real incredible season he had, right? 35 goals, 16 assists in 52 games, 51 goal contributions in 52 games. Remarkable. Followed that up with another very good season, albeit one with injuries, where he got 30 goal contributions in 36 appearances. But he's fallen off a cliff at Chelsea. Fallen off a cliff completely. Injuries in his first season, and this season he's just not been chosen. And it's not like they've got a crop of elite players, elite attacking players that are ahead of him. But every time you see him play, it feels like there's no real place for him. It doesn't feel like they figured out how to utilize him. And if you look back at when he was at his best at Leipzig, these are from the 21-22 season. There were various ways in which he played, but they were all on the same kind of basic principle, which was a back five that Leipzig deployed, / back three with then 4 across the midfield and 2 wing backs, and then 3 attacking players that were all kind of central attacking players, right? So whether he was sat in front of Szoboszlai and Forsberg, or whether he was alongside Silva with Forsberg or Szoboszlai behind them, it was always that same principle, and he was always given a relative amount of freedom within that. Well, he's not had that at Chelsea, and I don't believe that he would have that at Arsenal either. If you're looking at where would you bring him in? And bear in mind, if you're putting him on at least 200 grand a week, he becomes one of your higher earners. You're spending that sort of money on him. Where's he fitting in? Because he's not an 8. He hasn't got the defensive work rate or ability to be an 8. Certainly not the left 8, which is obviously Declan Rice's role next season, we assume. And then the right 8, if you say, you could maybe argue he's coming in to what? Compete with Martin Ødegaard? Well, if you're going to spend 55 million quid and 200 grand in wages on a competitor or a replacement for Ødegaard, that's not Nkunku. You could do a lot better than Nkunku for that role. And so then you're effectively saying, well, he's a striker then. But the striker in our system doesn't have the central support that he had at Leipzig. It has wing support. He needs to do an awful lot more, and he has to be kind of fixated to that central role. So I don't get it. I don't get it. And the fact that there are those links, which I hope are just not credible, worry me. Now, we will look at the greenery, right? As always, we will look at the greenery. And the greenery is this. Like, he's 27 years old, turns 28 in November next season. This is what he's done at Chelsea. In the Premier League, bear in mind, this season, yeah, it looks good in a way. Not good. It looks all right that he's got 14 goals this season in 42 games. Stat padding in the Conference League is not what we're looking for. So in the Premier League, in the Big Boy League, 3 goals in 27 matches. Now, admittedly, he's only started 9 of those matches. But you start looking through the numbers, right? In the Premier League this season, this is abysmal. 3 goals from 25 shots and 4.83 XG. That is not clinical in the slightest. That's less clinical than Kai Havertz, in fact, right? You come down to the greenery. This is per 90. Like I said, a lot of those minutes have been off the bench. Per 90, this is relative to midfielders as well, you've got to bear in mind. XG is actually decent, but the total number of goals from that XG is not good enough. And then you start coming down passing, very little creativity whatsoever. His pass accuracy is great, but 90% pass accuracy for someone in his role is too cautious. It's knocking it around. Possession-based, successful dribbling, it's not great. Fair amount of touches in the opposition box, but not doing a huge amount with it. You come down here, there's nothing really relevant in this greenery. Aerial Joules, it's all right. But again, that's compared to midfielders, not compared to strikers that are up against centre-backs. It's not good. It's not good. But, again, if you then look at comparing him when he was in the Bundesliga in 21-22, it's a completely different story. 20 goals from 82 shots. It was 3 from 25 at Chelsea. That's what, a goal every 8 shots at Chelsea in the Premier League. This is a goal basically every 4 shots when he was there from an XG of 16. Far, far better. Is that confidence-based? Is that being in better positions? I mean, that's a fantastic shot map. And then you come down to the greenery. 0.66 goals per game compared to 0.3. Per 90. So that factors in the minutes. Double at Leipzig. From less XG or less XG relative to the goals. But this creativity, it's through the roof. The pass accuracy is way less because he's actually trying to do things. Is this because of the system? Is it confidence? But the real thing is, could you get this? And that's what I don't think you could. Again, dribbling. You compare that to what he's doing at Chelsea. It's literally, if you compared these side by side, it's 2 different players. You'd say there's no way that's the same player. So what's caused the difference? Is it the injuries? Is it confidence? Is it the system? I don't know, but this was 4 years ago. And I just don't believe that it's worth risking getting that now for 55 million quid and 200 grand in wages. I'd love to, if you could get that version of him, brilliant. But Ultimately, I just don't think you could. So, I mean, let me know in the comments. If there's anyone that thinks we should be going for Christopher Nkunku, let me know. I can't imagine there are many of you. And we'll move now on to Joules Kounde. Now, this was what was said about Joules Kounde. He's emerged as a potential defensive target for Arsenal. His versatility has massive appeal to Mikel Arteta, who is ready to make a £55 million offer if he senses a deal is possible. However, pricing him out of Catalonia would be difficult. Now, that's coming from Jordan Davies. This is not as credible a source as Fabrice Hawkins is for French players, but it is something that we've been linked to in the past. The only thing was, in the past, we didn't have Joules and Timber. And this is where, again, I struggle to see where Joules Kounde fits in at Arsenal. In fact, actually, if we go back to that and just factor in, again, the weekly wages, how much it would cost us. So you're looking at 55 million quid. He's got a release clause of £1 billion for Barca because that's what they do. But 55 million quid. He's currently on 260,000 euros a week. So again, he'd be going into our top bracket of earners. And I'm just looking at it going, well, you've got William Saliba as our right centre-back. Joules Kounde is a right centre-back that became a right-back at Barcelona, right? But he's right-footed, fundamentally. You've got William Saliba as our right centre-back. You've then got Joules Timber and Ben White and arguably Takahiro Tomiyasu as right-footed centre-backs that have become right-backs. Where does Joules Kounde fit into that? Unless you're selling at least two of Tomiyasu, Ben White, and Joules Timber, which I don't see us doing. I think we would probably try and sell Tomiyasu this summer, but won't be able to because he's injured and he's not expected to be back within the summer. And then White and Timber, I just fundamentally, this is one that I don't understand from a squad building perspective. Now, we've seen we were linked to Dean Huijsen. Now, that at least somewhat made sense because it was left-sided. And if we're moving Kivior on and we're moving Tierney on, and Zinchenko doesn't really count as that type of player, on the left-hand side, that made more sense. Joules Kounde doesn't. Now, again, we'll go and look at the greenery. We will go and look at the greenery if you bear with me 2 seconds. But it's an interesting one. And it's one that fundamentally I don't see happening. But here we go. This is Joules Kounde. Now, 26 years old, turning 27 in November. So he's a good age. Like I said, right-footed, expensive. Really has only been a right-back for the last couple of years at least, having been a centre-back previously. Good player, great player. Absolutely no denying it, that he is a fantastic player. Defensively, if we go per 90, I mean, he contributes a lot going forward relative to defenders. Passing, fantastic, as you'd expect at Barcelona. Defensively, I mean, he's a high touch taker, by the way, which we always look at being important at Arsenal because of the possession we have. And yeah, defensively, decent tackle percentage, dual winner. You know, it's not blowing you away defensively, in fairness, but then you've got to bear in mind Barcelona do play a possession-based game. They control a lot of the ball, but also they play a very high line. That's where he could fit in at Arsenal. He is very, very used to playing the high line that we play. And so you would look at that and say that's a bonus. But for me, this is one that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe it's his agent trying to get something done. He wants to leave Barcelona, maybe. I don't really know. But I don't see Kounde happening. I don't see Nkunku happening. I'm just slightly concerned about where that report has come from and why it's come from Fabrice Hawkins, who I do kind of rate. But look, that's my opinion on them. Whether or not I think they'll happen, let me know if you disagree in the comments. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's a Saturday. No Arsenal, though, until the PSG game. Of course, we will be previewing the PSG game in due course. That'll probably be on Monday. We'll see what video we've got tomorrow, but there will be one. And until then, have a good evening. Have a good night, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Please like, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Goodbye.